NYIT is a community service of the New York Institute of Technology.
Covering the news of Nassau and Suffolk Counties, Long Island News Tonight with Ken Eckhart, Carol Peck, and the award-winning LI News team.
Good evening. I'm Ken Eckhart, and here's what's happening. It's reported the Long Island Railroad expects to have more retirees than active employees by the end of this year. And because of the large number of retirees, the MTA says the LIRR pays about $106 million a year for retiree pensions, which is one of the reasons for the railroad's high operating costs. Well, now those high operating costs have earned the LIRR poor rankings in a new efficiency study released by the nonprofit civic group, the Citizens Budget Commission, which concluded the LIRR is one of the most inefficient commuter railroads in the country. The study says the LIRR pays 57 cents per each mile that a passenger travels. That's about 20 cents higher than the nationwide average. The report ranks the LIRR in the bottom half of all the efficiency categories compared to the top 10 largest commuter railroads in the U.S. Well, Nassau County Police are looking for a suspect wanted in connection with two bias-related graffiti incidents. Police say the suspect spray-painted remarks referencing the KKK Tuesday at a deli in Elmont and at a service recovery location, both on Hempstead Turnpike in Elmont. Officials say the bias graffiti was spray-painted at the two locations within about 10 minutes of each other. Video surveillance revealed the subject to be a male black wearing a ski cap, white nylon coat, dark-colored pants, and carrying a bag with a shoulder strap. And police say they hope to hear from anyone with information regarding that crime. When most people think about addictions, alcohol and drug abuse often come to mind. But gambling can be an addiction as well. And as Elsa Gillis reports, most young people have tried gambling in some form or another by the time they head off to college.
Who hasn't tried a lotto scratch-off card, a game of bingo, or poker? For many, gambling is just fun and games. But while throwing those dice may look like innocent fun, in reality, gambling can become a serious addiction.
What we know now is there is a super high correlation between problem gambling and substance use.
To create awareness of problem gambling, addiction recovery specialist Melissa Wayne spoke to New York Institute of Technology students about the dangers of gambling.
Gambling can be so dangerous because it's really considered a hidden addiction. People can gamble, it's very socially acceptable, and quickly spiral out of control.
In fact, according to the New York Council for Problem Gambling, 1 in 5 gambling addicts have attempted suicide, and Wayne says they can suffer from severe emotional, financial, and social problems resulting from their addiction. Experts like Melissa Wayne say there are all types of gamblers, from social gamblers to pathological gamblers who have real addiction problems. But they say there are ways to detect that problem gambling behavior.
You're going to look for changes in their personality and their behavior, changes in their financial situation. Do they forget a lot?
Experts say by the time kids reach college, most have tried some form of gambling, especially now that anyone can play on the internet. And as student Michael Cavalli points out, many don't realize how dangerous it can become.
Gambling addiction is overlooked in comparison to alcohol and drug addiction, but at the same point, it is just as dangerous. I mean, especially for college students.
Wayne says you can call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY for the New York State Gambling Addiction Hotline if you feel you or someone you know might have a problem. In Old Westbury, Elsa Gillis, LI News Tonight.
Police have now identified the man who was killed after the bike he was riding on was struck by a hit-and-run driver. As we told you, the accident happened a little past 6 yesterday morning along Hicksville Road in Bethpage. The dead man has now been identified as 32-year-old Stephen Morano of Bethpage. Police say Morano and another man were riding on the same bicycle when police say they suspect they were hit by a white box truck that then drove away. Morano died about an hour later at a nearby hospital. The other man was admitted in serious condition with internal injuries. Well, the government's color-coded warning system is being replaced with a more specific and informative plan that would offer 2 levels of alerts, elevated and imminent. The public could see the warnings on Facebook and Twitter. The color-coded system has been one of the government's most visible counterterrorism tools since 9/11. The government's terror warnings could be withheld from the public entirely if announcing a threat would risk exposing an intelligence operation or an ongoing investigation, according to the government's confidential plan. The new system is expected to be in place by the end of this month. Educators say the classroom is a good place to introduce young people to different types of cultures. And as Charles Perry reports, because some Long Island students are so diverse, the students teach each other about their ethnic customs.
This cultural fair at the Plainview Old Bethpage Middle School is filled with students from many different backgrounds. They represent countries like America, Italy, Kenya, Korea, and Afghanistan. And students created these exhibits so other students can learn from them. And they were happy to share their background with us.
This is the current flag right now, but this was the past flag, and it changed, obviously.
Teachers say they can't stress enough how important it is to teach cultural differences in the classroom.
Because one of the things that we like to do in a classroom is we like to teach them to understand and celebrate differences, because maybe there'll be peace around the world one day if we did more of that.
Students agree that learning about different cultures requires first-hand experience.
Because you learn like hands-on about like all the food and stuff rather than being like taught things and taking notes.
It's cultural events like this one that allow students to come outside of the classroom to teach and share their cultures with other peers.
It kind of takes the teacher off the stage and it becomes, the students teaching the students.
In Plainview, Charles Perry, LI News Tonight.
Well, it was a down day on Wall Street today. The Dow finished the day down just under 17.5 points. NASDAQ was down 3 2/3 points. The S&P was down just over 2 points. NYIT's LI News Tonight continues after this.
See a screening of the film To Live at New York Institute of Technology's D. Seversky Center in Old Westbury on Wednesday, April 13th at 5:30 p.m. For more information, call 516-686-7567. Take the kids to Orient Beach State Park's 22nd Annual Egg Hunt in Orient on Saturday, April 16th at 11 a.m. For more information, log on to www.nysparks.com. Learn about the history of the Setauket Village Green on a 3-Village Historical Society walking tour on Saturday, April 16th at 10:30 a.m. For more information, call 631-751-3730 or celebrate Asia's rich heritage at the 5th Annual Asian American Cultural Festival in Roosevelt Hall at Farmingdale State College on Saturday, April 16th from noon till 9:30 p.m. For more information, call 631-754-6640. If you have an event you'd like included on the LI News Tonight community calendar, send it to linewstonight@nyit.edu.
Press play to start your future. Learn the industry. Use the technology. Become an expert in television reporting, journalism, radio, digital film, public relations and advertising, television production, digital graphics, a beautiful state-of-the-art campus, a road to the job you've always wanted, in the media capital of the world.
Communication Arts at NYIT. When can you start?
Some stories around the world today. Officials at Japan's damaged nuclear power plant say there are no signs of new damage there from a strong aftershock today. The magnitude 7.4 aftershock off the northeastern coast of Japan prompted a tsunami warning for a wave up to 6 feet in a coastal area already torn apart by last month's tsunami. Announcers on Japan's public broadcast station told coastal residents to run to higher ground, and buildings as far away as Tokyo shook today for about a minute. Meanwhile, officials at the stricken nuclear power plant say they aren't seeing any additional problems there from today's aftershock. Rebel fighters in Libya say they've been hit again by NATO airstrikes in another apparent mistake. A doctor says at least 2 rebels were killed and more than a dozen were hurt near the front lines outside the eastern oil port of Brega. It would be the second accidental NATO strike against rebel forces in less than a week. Dozens were described killed or wounded. NATO officials say that the pro-Gaddafi troops have blended into civilian areas in efforts to make it harder for the alliance to carry out the bombing runs. And tobacco companies in Australia will be forced to strip all logos from their cigarette packages and replace them with graphic images of cancer-riddled, rotted mouths and sickly children under newly unveiled legislation. The legislation unveiled today bans tobacco companies from printing their logos, promotional text, or colorful images on cigarette packs. The government says the measure will make Australia the world's toughest country on tobacco advertising. Australia's health minister says the new packages strip away the glamour that's associated with smoking. The tobacco industry is threatening legal action. Police in Suffolk County are searching for a man wanted in a failed bank robbery attempt this morning. Police say the suspect went into the Polish and Slavic Federal Credit Union in Copiague a little before 10:30 this morning. He approached a teller with a note demanding cash and threatening violence if the teller didn't do what he said. The suspect then fled the scene without any money. Judges in state and local courts across New York are being told to close courtrooms a half hour earlier to cut down on overtime paid to clerks and officers. The New York Times reports that a memorandum from the state's chief administrative judge directs judges to end court proceedings no later than 4:30 p.m. rather than the usual 5 p.m. The move is aimed at reducing overtime paid to staff members, such as the court clerks and court officers. The memo comes days after the legislature approved a state budget that cuts $170 million from the judiciary. The earlier closing time reportedly doesn't apply to arraignment courtrooms that work into the night. The UN Weather Agency says the depletion of the ozone layer shielding Earth from damaging ultraviolet rays has reached an unprecedented low over the Arctic this spring because of harmful chemicals and a cold winter. The World Meteorological Organization said this week that the Earth's fragile ozone layer in the Arctic region has suffered a loss of about 40% from the start of winter until late last month, exceeding the previous seasonal loss of about 30%. The Geneva-based agency blamed the loss on a buildup of ozone-eating chemicals once widely used as coolants and fire retardants in a variety of appliances, and on a very cold winter in the stratosphere, which is the second major layer of the Earth's atmosphere. After a few morning showers, we had a mostly cloudy day today, just a few views of the sun late this afternoon. The high was in the low 50s. Tonight should be partly cloudy with a low in the low 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high in the mid-50s. Saturday, mostly cloudy with a high in the mid-50s. Sunday, cloudy with a high up near 60 degrees. And the outlook for Monday, chance of a few showers with a high in the mid-60s. And that's it for NYIT's LI News Tonight. I'm Ken Eckhart. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.